So I said, well, the guides are saying that your husband and you have different senses of urgency.
That was very gentle.
Yes. And she goes, I don't know what that means. And I said, oh, that's fair. I said, let me ask the guides for more information. I do know what it means, but I need to understand what they mean for you so that I can explain it. So I just took another moment and then I launched into it. And I said, your sense of urgency is different in when to get things done. And she goes, yeah, okay, keep going. Do you have like examples? I'm a little bit lost, but I think I might be understanding what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I'm going to give an example of two things. One, I said, first of all, do you have a husband? Is that correct? And she goes, yeah. And I said, and you have children? I said, you have 3. And she goes, yeah. And I said, and there are pets in the house that you refer to as your fur babies. And she goes, yes, that's very correct. We always say we're a house of 5 kids. And I said, okay. So I said, your husband's sense of urgency in responding to when there's a need for your children is at a 0. He just doesn't respond. He just pretends it's not happening. He'll continue to watch TV. He'll continue to play a game. He may, if he gets up to a 1, yell instructions from his chair, but then say he's not yelling. So if they're in another room of the house or down the hall or in the basement and you're in the kitchen working or you're with the baby and the other 2 are downstairs and maybe they're not, I'm not even saying that they're fighting, Kelly. I'm just saying that there's a sense of urgency for something. And that could be that maybe they're getting too loud or they're not doing what they were told or their friends are over, whatever, right? It's just a variety of things. That if he sees you go up a notch, he just waits. He gauges you. He watches and listens to what you do. And if you're a 1 or a 2, he doesn't interfere. But if you hit around a 7, he yells. Still won't move, just yells. And she goes, yeah, this is so true. And I said, and then over time, because this has been over years, the dogs could have an accident. He doesn't move. He tells you they've had an accident. So his sense of urgency is really, truly a 0. But he instigates or inflates your sense of urgency.
Using verbal abuse.
Yes.
By pointing out a useless statement.
That's right. He will just make statements. He doesn't ask you to do anything. He thinks he's being a good husband because he's not telling you what to do. He's not asking you. He's not putting it. And so he even says those things like, well, I never told you to. Well, did I ask you? And so it was very important the way the guides worded this because she was not aware of that. It was happening, but she wasn't aware. So her lack of emotional intelligence in that means that his is higher in the sense that he's aware of the abuse and he's totally fine doing it.
Well, yeah, and he's got to be aware of her level of anxiety because he's playing into it, so she will act and will respond. So he doesn't have to. Can you imagine having someone who only elevates themselves to a sense of urgency of 1 if you get to a 7?
Oh, no. And even if she gets to a 10, he's not doing poke you in the eye. Okay. So if she goes up to a 10, then he yells, then he loses his temper, then he threatens, but he doesn't move. He still won't move. And so he will say, I'm busy, even if it means I'm busy playing a game, even if it means I'm busy.
I'm busy not caring.
Just